Hello, Detective Banks. Do you know where your officers are?
He could be anywhere. He could be anyone. We're gonna tear this city apart.
I'm gonna let him spin like a spiral.
Hey Cinemark fans, I'm Darren Flowers on the edge of my seat after watching Spiral. I'm here with the director, Darren Lynn Bousman. This is the fourth Saw universe film you're directing. What will be different with Spiral?
Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson, that's what's different. You have these insane actors this time around. And not even the two headliners, but people like Max Minghella or Marisol Nichols. You just have such a stellar cast, and I think that they bring such a new energy into the Saw universe. Chris was able to come in and interject a little bit of humor, which has never happened in a Saw film before. We've broadened the scope. It's a bigger film. It's intense. It still has everything that Saw fans have come to love. It has twists, it has turns, it has traps, it has lots and lots of blood. Don't worry about that. But it also has that signature Chris Rock touch, which is what drew me to the project and excites me about it.
So from what I understand, you were a big part of the inception and creation of this movie. So what interested you in working with the Saw franchise and Spiral?
I'd watched a couple of the Saws and I liked them a lot, but I also at the same time I had this idea. I was like, I wonder what would happen if you put a little comedy into this. Could we, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always trying to figure out where I fit into something. And I was like, I could do this part and make it a little funnier.
There is some good comedy in the movie, no surprise with you being a part of it. But how do you find that balance between funny and gore?
I mean, we had a kind of arrangement where between me and the director, Darren, and the producers, where I was kind of in charge of the comedy, they were in charge of the gore, and basically the tie always went to the gore. You know what I mean? Like, so I was allowed to pretty much say whatever I want, but at the same time, I couldn't undermine any of the gore that was happening or about to happen.
Chris would always do something humorous in every take, in every scene. And then the question was, do we pull that up or do we push it back? And it was a balancing act. You know, it was a real balancing act because we lost some things that I think were hilarious that just didn't fit tonality-wise. So we basically made the idea that the further the script went along, the more serious it had to become. So it starts off a lot more lighthearted, and as the film goes, it gets darker and darker. Until the last 10 minutes, you were very much back in the Saw universe. But I think when it starts off, you're more in a movie like 48 Hours meets 7. And then it ends, you're back in Saw.
Find him. They're hours, not days.
How can I catch this guy? If there's nobody on the force, I can bust!
You can't do this alone.
Whoever did this has another motive, something personal.
When was the last time you saw your father?
How difficult is it to act out all the gory, deadly contraptions and blood scenes?
It's kind of fun because you're like, ooh, that corn syrup looks so real. And ooh, and you can pick up like a severed hand and like play with it. It's kind of like a kid in a candy store, like, ooh, what's this? And it's actually fun to act around it.
I mean, those scenes are easy to act in because you're actually scared. You're actually, you know what I mean? You're reacting to something that's really frightening. You don't really have to think about it. You know what I mean?
You know, speaking of the gore, how difficult is it to film those scenes with all the deadly contraptions and blood and all that stuff?
Those take forever to film because, you know, you look at, you know, we hung a guy by his tongue and everything we do is practical. So a scene like that, you know, it takes hours of safety rigging and harnessing and all of that. And then it takes hours of camera maneuvering and practicing and then hours to get the subway right. So, you know, something like that might appear in the movie for a minute might take us 3 days to film just to get it right. So the traps are a very arduous process, but I think that's what kind of makes the movie. So we spend a lot of time on the traps because they're so important.
See what deadly tests are challenging the characters in Spiral by getting your tickets at Cinemark.com.
You want to play games, motherfucker?